The power of being underestimated. Not all leaders enter a room with noise. Some arrive in silence, watching, listening, and learning before they ever speak. In a world where appearances often decide value, it's easy to forget that true power rarely announces itself. Sometimes it walks in wearing worn shoes, carrying a quiet mind, and waiting patiently to be seen, not for validation, but for revelation. This is the story of how one woman, unnoticed, uncelebrated, and misunderstood, walked into a hospital where titles ruled and assumptions were currency. She sat silently in a corner, absorbing the rhythm of a place that prided itself on prestige, and that's where it begins. A mysterious woman enters the hospital, ignored by staff. A mysterious woman enters the hospital, ignored by staff. It was a brisk Monday morning at Westbridge General Hospital. The automatic doors whooshed open as the wind followed in a woman wrapped in a plain, beige overcoat. Her steps were light, yet firm, like someone used to being in crowded places but not necessarily seen. She carried a weathered leather folder and wore scuffed-up shoes that had walked through many cities and storms. She paused near the front desk. Nurses shuffled paperwork, a doctor barked out instructions, and a volunteer handed someone a wheelchair, but no one looked her way, not even a glance. It was as though she was invisible. She cleared her throat gently and offered a polite smile. "Good morning," she said. Without lifting her head, the receptionist mumbled, "You'll need to wait. We're backed up today." There was no "how can I help you?" no curiosity. No welcome, just dismissal, a cold brush-off wrapped in routine. The woman nodded calmly, stepped back, and took a seat in the far corner of the waiting area, blending into the background like a forgotten painting on a busy wall. She is mistaken for a visitor or loiterer due to her modest appearance. Time passed. A slow hour trickled by. The woman remained seated, legs crossed, posture graceful. She watched people, not nosily, but attentively. Her eyes followed the rhythm of the place, the way the interns sprinted nervously down corridors, how a senior doctor ignored a custodian's good morning, the kindness of a nurse who whispered comfort to a weeping child. And still, no one asked who she was. "She's probably someone's aunt or cousin," whispered one nurse to another near the vending machine. "No badge, no clipboard, definitely not medical staff," the other replied, "Sigh, dying her from across the hallway." "Looks like she's waiting for visiting hours, but it's been almost 2 hours. Bit odd, isn't it? She's probably lost or crazy. She keeps staring at everyone." Assumptions filled the air like static. To them, she was nobody, just another quiet woman with no title, no urgency, no place of importance in their well-oiled machine. The only reason she stood out was because she didn't stand out. No one guessed for a moment that they were being watched, not by a stranger, but by their soon-to-be chief of medicine. The hospital staff make assumptions and judge her silently. The longer the woman sat, the more she became a subject of quiet speculation. Though she said nothing and caused no trouble, whispers bloomed like wildfire in the sterile air of the hospital. "Did you see her shoes?" A nurse muttered behind her mask. "Looks like she walked a mile just to get here. She's probably from one of those neighborhood clinics," sneered a junior doctor. "No way she's from any serious institution." Even the security guard raised an eyebrow as he passed her for the third time, subtly checking to see if she was still there, still unmoved. She didn't check her phone, she didn't fidget, she simply watched. That more than anything unsettled them. People found comfort in being seen and admired, but this woman didn't seem to need approval. She didn't shrink, but she didn't demand space either. Her silence wasn't weak, it was deliberate, yet the staff didn't see strength. They saw someone irrelevant, someone to dismiss, someone beneath the tempo of their prestigious hospital halls. She quietly observes the staff's behavior and hospital culture from her seat. The woman studied everything, not out of boredom, but with purpose. Every movement, every interaction held meaning. She observed how certain nurses responded with warmth while others moved robotically, detached from the humans they cared for. She noticed how senior doctors greeted each other, but rarely acknowledged cleaning staff or junior interns. She watched a physician snatch a chart from a nurse's hands without so much as a thank you. She saw a patient in a wheelchair ignored for too long, quietly shifting with discomfort near the window. No one saw these things, or if they did, they were numb to them. But she saw, she noticed where compassion lived, and where it had died. She saw who smiled when they thought no one was looking, and who rolled their eyes the moment a patient turned away. It was like she was reading a script behind the performance, peeling away the polish to reveal the messy truth underneath. And the irony, none of them knew they were being evaluated, not by a stranger, but by their new leader in disguise. Dr. Hargrove and others express annoyance at her presence. The hum of the hospital shifted as Dr. Kenneth Hargrove entered the lobby, his presence like a gust of wind sweeping through a calm room. Confident, calculated, and always dressed to impress, he was the kind of man who expected the hallway to part for him. His reputation for surgical brilliance was only rivaled by his arrogance. He spotted the woman still seated in the waiting area and frowned. "Why is she still here?" he asked curtly, eyes narrowing at the receptionist. Rhonda, clearly flustered, shrugged. "I told her to go upstairs if she had an interview, but she didn't move." "Well, we're not a park bench. If she's not a patient or on staff, security should escort her out." He snapped. His voice wasn't lowered. He didn't bother with discretion. Other staff nodded subtly, not daring to disagree. After all, Dr. Hargrove's opinion held weight. Still, the woman remained unshaken, quiet, composed, observing, and his dismissiveness was duly noted. The hospital CEO arrives to introduce the new chief of medicine. Suddenly, the elevator dinged at the far end of the corridor. All eyes turned. Out stepped Mr. Donnelly, the hospital's CEO, flanked by the HR director, a marketing coordinator, and 2 board members. Their shoes clicked in perfect harmony on the marble floor as they walked with purpose. Donnelly's booming voice cut through the murmurs. "May I have your attention, please?" The crowd of doctors, nurses, and interns paused mid-task. Even Dr. Hargrove straightened up. "We're proud to welcome a visionary, a physician, leader, and innovator who's about to bring a much-needed change to this institution. Our new chief of medicine has transformed clinics across the country with her compassion-first approach to leadership." People looked around, expecting someone to step forward from the elevator. Then Donnelly extended a hand, not to the boardroom group, but toward the corner of the lobby. "Please welcome Dr. Nadira Ellison." Gasps. Silence, shock. All eyes turned toward the woman they had ignored for hours, and in that instant time froze. The woman is revealed as Dr. Nadira Ellison, the new chief. Every head turned, every breath seemed to hold. The woman who had been ignored, whispered about, and judged without a word, slowly stood up. She removed her beige coat, folded it neatly over her arm, and walked forward with quiet authority. Her crisp white blouse and navy slacks now visible, she looked every bit the professional she had always been, only now revealed. As she passed by Rhonda, the receptionist instinctively stood, mouth slightly agape. Dr. Hargrove looked as if he'd seen a ghost. No stethoscope, no clipboard, and yet she held more command than anyone in the room. She reached Mr. Donnelly's side, shook his hand with a warm nod, and turned to face the hospital staff. Clipped to her chest was a name badge gleaming under the hospital lights. Dr. Nadira Ellison, Chief of Medicine. Her eyes calmly scanned the crowd that had once dismissed her, and without a single word, she changed the energy of the entire room. "She delivers a powerful speech about respect, bias, and culture, Dr." Ellison took a step forward and spoke. Her voice calm but penetrating. "This morning I chose to walk in unseen. No fanfare, no introductions, just observation. What I witnessed was real, unfiltered." The staff stood frozen, some anxious, some ashamed. "I saw brilliance," she continued. "I saw people who care deeply, but I also saw how easily we decide who deserves attention and who doesn't, how appearances shape perception, how power demands respect, but rarely offers it." A few glanced at Dr. Hargrove, who looked suddenly very small. "I was judged by what I wore, by what I didn't say. That should never happen in a hospital, where every person deserves dignity, whether they're a CEO, a janitor, or someone simply sitting quietly." Her voice grew firmer. If we are to save lives inside these walls, then let it begin with seeing people, not their status, not their shoes, but their worth. That from today is our foundation. The room remained still, but the message. It thundered. Staff realized their prejudice and began to reflect on their actions. Silence lingered long after Dr. Ellison's final word. Her message didn't just land, it sank, deep and uncomfortable, in the hearts of every staff member present. Rhonda looked down at her clipboard, cheeks flushed. She remembered how she brushed the woman off without a second glance. A few feet away, a group of nurses exchanged uneasy looks, ashamed of their earlier whispers. Even Dr. Hargrove, once towering with ego, now stood motionless, his jaw clenched and eyes distant. Reflection began like a ripple, small, quiet, but spreading fast. What if the woman had been a patient? A grieving family member? A nurse in need? What if someone else had witnessed how they treated her, and judged the hospital by that single moment? In that instant, the staff realized the truth wasn't just about who Dr. Ellison was. It was about who they had chosen to be in her presence. And now, faced with her grace and power, they saw their own flaws staring back at them. A transformation in hospital culture begins under her leadership. Change didn't come overnight, but it came. Within weeks, Westbridge General began to feel different, not in the walls or the equipment, but in the way people greeted each other. There were now morning check-ins where everyone, from senior surgeons to cleaning staff, shared the same space. Empathy workshops became mandatory. Titles still mattered, but kindness mattered more. Dr. Ellison made it clear, excellence without humanity was failure in disguise. Promotions were no longer based solely on skill, but on emotional intelligence, teamwork, and humility. Rhonda, once the curt gatekeeper of the front desk, became known for her warm welcome. Dr. Hargrove, humbled by his own actions, led internal sessions on bias and leadership, by request, not by order. And as the culture shifted, so did patient care. Satisfaction rose, turnover dropped. The hospital wasn't just a place to heal bodies. It became a place that healed people, because one woman dared to be unseen. So the rest could learn how to truly see. The day everything changed, Westbridge General would never forget the day Dr. Nadira Ellison revealed herself, not with a grand entrance, but by holding up a mirror to the people who prided themselves on saving lives. Through her quiet presence and powerful message, she challenged not only their professionalism, but their humanity. She didn't seek revenge or drama, she inspired change. What began as an ordinary Monday ended as a turning point, where egos softened, eyes opened, and a hospital rediscovered its heart. And to this day, whenever someone new walks through those glass doors in silence, they are no longer judged by their shoes or coat. Because Dr. Ellison taught them something unforgettable, leadership isn't about being seen, it's about seeing others first.